Now more than ever, the private details of Americans' lives are for sale. And as a consequence of our connectivity, technology companies, smartphone apps, and data brokers scoop up our sensitive data, ranging from our internet searches to our home addresses to our cell phone locations, and neatly package them to sell in the marketplace to other citizens, to foreign actors, and to the United States government. While brokers claim the data they sell is anonymous, these companies maintain databases so large and aggregate so much personal information that we all may be re-identified by savvy purchasers of that data. What's more is that data collection has been utilized by law enforcement to modernize investigative tactics, relying on warrants obtained through geofencing, keyword searches, and cell site location information. While these tactics have aided law enforcement in many cases, abuse of these warrants and authorities have led to numerous civil rights violations, particularly of the Fourth Amendment's protections. For instance, in my home state of Arizona, a man was wrongfully arrested, interrogated, and imprisoned and accused of murder, all because his Google location data indicated that he had been in the vicinity of a shooting. As the New York Times put it, such location data, quote, can help solve crimes, but it can also snare innocent people, unquote, as it did in this particular case. It is not just law enforcement's ability to access this data that causes me alarm. In our post-Roe world, in the wake of several states proposing or enacting bounty-style laws which reward vigilantes for reporting their neighbors and community members to police, I have grown increasingly concerned about the safety of those seeking medical care or even just medical information about their reproductive health. In fact, I join many of my House colleagues in calling on the FTC to use its full authority to ensure that data brokers are protecting users' privacy and to strongly enforce privacy standards against data brokers who break the best practices, including by prosecuting their illegal actions. It is clear that this issue is not going away, and Congress must take action to legislate on privacy. Professor Wexler, in the Arizona case I described, a man was publicly and falsely accused of murder based upon his Google location data. How do geofence warrants create situations for misidentification and wrongful arrest?
So it's a really important question. I'm actually not an expert on the Fourth Amendment. My research focuses on criminal defendants' access to data. And so I think another witness maybe would be better to speak on geofence location warrants.
Thank you. Any other witness would like to speak on the issue of geofencing? Please.
I'd be happy to speak. Geofence warrants are when the government goes to Google with a warrant and requests the information for all of the cell phones within a particular geographic location for a particular time period. And this is something the government can then look for suspicious patterns of movement and use that to try to figure out who committed whatever crime they're investigating. And Google received more than 11,000 of these warrants in 2020 alone. Even though the government has a warrant, there's a major Fourth Amendment problem with these warrants. The Fourth Amendment has something called a particularity requirement, which roughly means the government has to show probable cause that searching a particular place, a particular home, or a particular device will yield evidence of a crime. And usually the way that works is the government has a suspect. They can show probable cause that they committed the crime, and they therefore have a justification for searching that person's home or device or what have you. Geolocation warrants work in reverse. So they allow the government to obtain the Fourth Amendment protected information of dozens, hundreds, maybe even thousands of people, even before the government has a suspect. It's the equivalent of searching every home in the neighborhood of a crime to figure out who committed it. And as you can imagine, if you're just looking for suspicious movements and then deciding that that means that somebody is your suspect, that is going to result in a fair number of false flags.
Let me ask a follow-up question. Could a geofence warrant be used in the case of an abortion provider, for instance, to identify employees or patients of that medical facility? And if so, what harms could occur because of that identification?
Yes, I mean, a geofence warrant can be used for any purpose. I mean, there does have to be, a crime that the government is investigating because there is a warrant involved. But at that point, the government can pull in the information of everyone who was at or near a healthcare provider that provides abortion care services, and that will, of course, probably sweep in a lot of people who were shopping at the convenience store next door or who were at the provider for reasons other than abortion care, as well as obtaining Fourth Amendment protected information of women who are seeking abortion care without meeting the legal standard that needs to be met under the Fourth Amendment and under the laws Congress has passed to obtain that information.
A scary proposition. Thank you. I yield my time back. And next.